Welcome to Channel AMEC, your insight to the Australian visa system. Good day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Now, are you interested about Australian visa and migration and perhaps study abroad in Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to our channel, so once we have all the updates and news, you'll be the first one getting all the insights. Okay, now this video I would like to take you into a little bit of depth of how a visa can actually be refused or cancelled. It's a very harsh topic, but it's actually very commonly asked questions, because I do every now and then receiving messages or comments or emails in regards to the visa has been refused, cancelled, in limbo status. What can they do, and how can we prevent it? And finally, if you do or did have a cancellation histories, how do we overcome the situation? So the new Department of Home Affairs website does provide some of the information. So I will like to take you into those web page and have a look and read, and we will digest through how we can actually resolve the situation. Okay, so here we go. This is maybe you can Google it. It doesn't say much. Says entering Australia, and it says check if your visa cancel or refusal affect you. So you need to check whether you have those past histories. And if you do have, it's best that you get advice from a legal consultant who is specialized in migration law in Australia. And there's also a re-entry ban, if you can see here. Some people, once they have, if you got visa refused, you don't generally get banned. But if you do get your visa cancelled, normally you will attract this ban, which generally is about exclusion period of about 3 years. Now, the problem with that one is that you will be barred to actually apply to get a grant or approval of the next upcoming visa that you're seeking to apply for. And obviously a lot of visas now, for example working visas, and also the student visas, and a lot of other visas, they now do have training visas. They do check history, they do check your previous entry histories. So if you do have those kind of things, that will obviously affect the success rate of your visa applications. Now, if we do go to the other page where it does have an overview, and I can read through and explain more here. Obviously, the overview says that the minister, obviously the Minister of Immigration, or his or her delegates, means the case officer or immigration officer, do have the right to grant or refuse or cancel your visa. So reason to be cancelled, there are mainly three. So you're not compliant, so you hold a visa which has a condition to it. For example, a student visa is supposed to be studying, but you did not go studying, you were playing around, fooling around, obviously you get visa cancelled. You hold an employment visa, employment sponsor visa. You're supposed to work for employer A. However, you have decided to work for employer B in conjunction with employer C, blah blah blah. That triggers the cancellation criteria. And the other one is meeting character requirement, means that if you do have any character issue. Now, what does that mean? Character issue generally you have been incriminated, or perhaps have some sort of offense that will attract potentially over 12 months of imprisonment. Then you'll be refused or cancelled. And the other one will be the sex offenders. Australian regulations does have a very strict rule in regard to sex offenders. So if you did have anything like this, obviously under Privacy Act and regulation, you should consult with the legal profession before you lodge a visa. And finally, is you providing false information. So some people they don't want to. So false information, there are few things. You can provide directly with a false, misleading information. For example, you were born in city A, and you disclose that you were born in city B. Then obviously that's false. Okay, and the other part is that you decide not to disclose some information about yourself. For example, you might have a divorce history, and you did not disclose it, and you put single in the form. Never married, for example. You take never married. You or your agent might take it because you didn't tell them that you have marriage histories and you had divorce before. Then that's also a false information. So you got to be very careful. Once you get that, obviously your visa is liable to be refused or cancelled. Okay, and the other one is paying for sponsorship. So you're seeking for employment and finding a way to pay yourself into the country. Here's an example: change of studies. Again, you were enrolled in a certain university A, and you suddenly decide not to study in university. You change to some sort of courses. Then obviously you will be attracting cancellation of your visa. People ask why. I have student visa. I'm here to study. I'm still studying. Why they're canceling? Now, you have to understand a visa is act like a contract. So the contract was based on you agree to study a certain course with a certain university or education institutions. Then once you got this agreement with them, and now you are breaking the contract, you cancel your own enrollment and you went into another institution to study. So obviously that contractual agreement or binding has been broken by you. Obviously that will attract a cancellation as well. So a lot of people don't understand the legal logic behind this. Now finally is the biosecurity contravention. It's actually very hard. For example, certain food plant material that you're bringing has serious pests or disease. Now, I haven't seen anyone like this. Now, obviously, we recommend people not to bring things like these kind of stuff. If you do want, you obviously consult with the commercial custom broker whether certain items will be barred or restricted for a certain country of entry. So obviously that's what it is. Importation of objectionable goods, so drugs and things. That's pretty obvious. So you'll get visa cancelled, refused, and some people try to lodge a protection visa. You got to be very careful. Now, request a visa cancellation. If you hold one of the visa below or any temporary visa less than 6 months validity, will not process requests for voluntary cancellation. So what does this mean? Some people will ask. Now, some people hold certain visa due to their work with certain government, for example. They're required to drop a visa. So how do you drop a visa? And you gotta apply for it. So you request for your visa to be cancelled. Now, what they're saying is that if the visa validity is less than 6 months, then they won't. Australian government will not consider to do that. You might as well wait for 6 months. Once it expires and everything's all good. Now, very hard situation. I haven't seen anybody like this, but I did have one experience that the certain personnel, because their employment purpose, they have been hired in a senior position of a certain government in another country that required to drop their working visa or perhaps permanent resident as well. So it's a very extreme, but it can be done. It can be done. Now let's look at the statistics. It's actually very interesting, showing that the stats has for character cancellation was at the height of 2016 and 2017, and continues drop down. Obviously, it's all caused by the number of application back then was much more, and obviously there is a change of government. You can see here of Australian government from a Labor to a Liberal. So Liberal government had taken more actions in towards monitoring and checking a visa condition where applicants are visa holder actually abide to the law. Then here we go. That's the over the past 12 months. So July to June 2020. What are the most highest cancellation crime? So you can see drugs. You see drugs, assault. No, that's interesting. Assault basically meant you were in a fight with someone. Child offense, robbery. I don't know why you person come to Australia to rob. Don't know. Fraud, sex offender, domestic violence, injuries, reckless injuries, driving offense. Now this is really 36. Now that's very hard. Driving offense obviously doesn't mean you've been overspeed and being caught on parking on the wrong side of the road. Basically, this is more a serious driving offense. So, for example, you were overspeeding to a certain point, and there's some people murdering, and also things down here. So, okay, now I'm not gonna go through with the, criminal activities there. Now, cancellation by state. So we can see New South Wales has the most. Queensland, Western Australia, Victoria. Reason that Victoria, although they have more visa applicants, but they have less because when the criminal offenders generally choose destination, they are easily to arrive and have the shortest route. So Queensland is, it's easier to actually get in. Another way to say, Victoria, because the border is facing towards South Pole, so no one will actually fly or get on a boat and going all around Australia to the south, to the southern side of Australia, and then enter that way. It's actually very hard. Top 10 nationalities. Interestingly, New Zealand has the most offenders in the United Kingdom, Vietnam, Sudan, China, so on and so forth. Revocation, so people being caught and they have got their cases revoked, means that you won your cases, you get your right back. So there's only 252. So compared to the 1,000, so about quarter people will go into appeal against the decision and that they won. And student cancellation. Look at this. This is crazy. So people have been not really coming to Australia to study genuinely, and that's a problem. That is the reason why there's an introduction of GTE, General Temporary Entrant, required by the immigration law. So they need to test whether or not this student is actually genuine students. As you can see, the offshore, cancel offshore. That means student coming on shore, study, and then when they return back home, immigration found out they are not genuine students. They've been cancelled. So there's a lot. It's crazy. So onshore, mean obviously they are quite good. If they remain onshore, means they are studying. So again, that's the information that to share with everybody. Now, if you get visa cancelled or refused, what do you do? What can you do? How do you get perhaps a revocation that we just saw? Obviously, it's case by case. Now, through my career, I've been dealing with a lot of these matter. Some matter might be very hard. We might suggest forget about it. There's no point of wasting money and time. But some people do choose just give a go and see how it feels like. Now, it really depends on the nature of the case. A lot of them, although might not get a perfect solutions, but appeal against the decision sometimes give you a more advantage, because at least it shows that you have that genuine intention, and showing that you disagree about the decisions. And obviously, if you're applying for permanent residence or perhaps have a type of visa, every visa has different criteria, and your cases previously been cancelled or refused will be very vital. So my advice is that to get those detailed decisions and brief. You need to really take time, perhaps sometimes days and hours, to discuss with the legal professional consultants in order to make firm decisions. Obviously, no one would like this kind of things happen, but once it happened, cost is always involved for legally getting this through. Again, if you're a frequent international traveler or you may be traveling alone in the future, I think everybody will in the future. It's better you get these kind of things revoked. I mean, to get rid of it, because as you know, your passport nowadays I will call digital biometric passport. So if you flip through your passports, in the middle section you'll find one page is certainly very thick. Now that's all the digital prints in there, meaning that every government around the world could actually access to the data of your passports. Obviously, if you do have cancellation of a visa in the past, if you travel to another country, they're likely to actually find out. And I did have experience that people had previously cancelled or refused entry in USA and Australia, and they choose not to disclose to the government of Australia, and the border force of Australia actually identifies it. So it's you got to be very careful, and you got to be truthfully and facing what you had previously recorded, and get a better professional advice. Anyway, that's for the video today. Should you have any question or comment, welcome to leave it down below in the comment sections. And I see you in the next video. Goodbye.